Looks like it's on.
Hello.
Hello, Jim.
How are you?
I'm well. How are you? I'm on
Good.
just a touch early, making
Yeah,
sure I'm all ready.
me too.
Righto. So where are you from, Jim?
Burlington.
Burlington. And what industry are you in?
I'm a senior superintendent with PC Construction.
Okay, great.
I thought it might be a fact finding thing to join the meeting. So,
I appreciate that. That is a good, a perfectly good reasoning, and hopefully a reason why I hope lots of people will be joining us. Let me
I'm
see.
also the craft worker manager for the company. I've been trying to hire craft workers now for about a year.
Yeah. Hey, Tim Frost. I know him.
Chris, how's it going?
I'm well, Tim. How are you?
I'm doing well.
Good. This is Jim Lacasse from. Did I get that? The name gets kind of cut off there, Jim. Is there
That's right.
another?
Lacasse. Yep.
Oh, Lacasse from PC Construction. Is Tim Frost? He's owner of a Peregrine Design Build.
Yep. I've heard of you.
How you doing?
Good.
How are things over there at the office today, Tim?
Things are good. A little warm up here today.
Yeah, I just mowed the lawn. My wife was like, "The lawn's getting long." I'm like, "I gotta fix the mower deck." She's like, "After, just get the damn thing mowed." So as is usually the best move forward, I did indeed mow the lawn. Couple of grass stains to show for it. And it is quite warm out. I mean, I'm a little higher in elevation than you are. I'm over here in Jericho, so slightly different climate, but we're usually, I don't know, we're usually like 4 or 5 degrees cooler than you guys down there over by, what is that, Commerce Avenue? That's not Commerce.
This
You're
definitely
industrial. What's the main road that goes down past behind the airport there?
it's Ethan Allen,
Ethan Allen, yeah.
Lime Kiln. It's
Lime Kiln. That's the one I was
yeah,
thinking about. The 25-hour don't hit the senior citizens area.
yeah.
That looks
There's
like Guy Payne. I don't know another Guy, so it might not be Guy Payne, but it is Guy Payne. Hey, Guy.
how are you?
I've been well. It's been a crazy time, as with everyone. And trying to get this fledgling apprenticeship program started. So I'm glad we've got you and Jim here. We've got about 30 people registered, so we're hoping for a nice big crowd. Let me just double check that while we're sitting here. Not that everyone who signed up is necessarily going to want to be actually coming, but right now we've got 35 people registered. Awesome. That's a great number. If we can even half of that, I'll be happy. I'll be very happy. Hey, Guy, you can talk now.
Hello, Chris.
Long time no see.
I know. Time for a big hug.
That's right. I interviewed Guy for my building science podcast the other day, specifically about this topic. I did end up using that on Tuesday evening, guys, so it's already up on the uploaded and being distributed. I will put the link in. Hey, and Dennis Borbo, I know him as well. Let me see. House Calls Vermont. House Calls Vermont. I will do a shameless plug of my my show. Here you go, Guy. That's the link to the web
Oh, okay.
page
Great.
and the actual the last. I have both. You can see them both on the website. Hi, Dennis.
I
I have both the whole episode, but also just your interview. So if you wanted to grab just the interview and use it somewhere, you can do that without
Okay.
having
All right, great.
to force people to watch the rest of the episode, which was pretty cool, if I can say so myself. A second installment of an energy audit that Jim and I did. A chat with Steve Spatz from Efficient Vermont on available rebates, and me droning on for 20 minutes about workforce development, and then you and me droning on for about 35 minutes on workforce development. So if people are interested, they can always jump in there and watch our interview. As a matter of fact, I got a request this morning to get that interview link to someone. So you've got a fan, Guy.
Great.
It was specifically, how do I see that interview you did with Guy Payne? And I was like, well, let me show you. By the way, Guy is pretty approachable, so if you want to talk to him directly. So I'm all done it out in all my VBRA gear, VBRA. I'll talk like this the whole time, but just looking up every now and then. Another 5 minutes. We have about, Dennis, about 35 people registered. So hopefully,
and I received 2 calls, actually 3 people that talked to me that saw you on the news. And 2 of them were contractors. And but the most exciting one is this Devin Karpak from Otter Valley Union Tech School called.
okay.
He said he did not have the ability to attend the meeting. He gave me his contact information. I told him we could email him
A link.
the video of the meeting.
So he's running one of the tech centers.
Yes.
Okay,
Now, he
great.
said that about 4 years ago, he put a framework together for the trades education program in the state, coming from the grade schools to the high schools to the colleges, and showing the missing steps, the miscommunication, the inconsistencies in the program, the wasted money, the fact that BTC was teaching just management and should concentrate more on apprenticeships and more individual trades. And he brought all.
Sounds like someone we want to have in on the discussion.
Yeah, he brought it all to the state 4 years ago and got shut right down. Surprise, surprise.
Well, we do have a pretty good catalog already from other people on what the state has done wrong in the past, but I'd love to speak with him. What was his name again?
Devin Karpak, and I'll send you his information.
Awesome.
And I emailed him. He's going to send me the outline of the framework that he had. He said some of it doesn't pertain because it's 4 years old,
Right,
but
right. Things
the
age
guts
out.
of it haven't changed. I don't think that the programs in the state have changed very much in the past 4 years.
No, but maybe some of the initiatives have either dried up or expanded. Hey, Jim, in the office. Jim, you know everybody who's on here right now except for Jim Lacasse from PC Construction. Hello, Mr. Bacchus. Oh, that is a great name. I remember you. We did an energy audit at your house, didn't we?
He's still coming on.
Jim, is that the same Mr. Bacchus?
Good afternoon. How are you?
I'm well. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing okay.
Hi, Chris.
Hey, Lou. Welcome. That's probably Andrew. Now they all come. Yes.
Hi, Chris.
Hey, how's it going, Andy? I didn't know
Good.
if you were. Andrew doesn't work for me. We've talked about this in the past. I know your name is Andrew, but when I see Andrew, I think Andrew Brewer, but not
That's
Andy,
all right. Keeps you guessing.
Andy Leach. Yep, yep. So we're just hitting 4:30, and we're gonna wait for probably 4 or 5 minutes after we hit the half hour, just to make sure everyone has an opportunity to show up. We've got about 35 people registered through the website, and we have a couple of other people who saw my spot. Hey, Katie. Hi, Stephanie. Hi, Sarah. Saw my interview on WCAX yesterday, completely out of the blue. They called me on Tuesday and said, "We want to talk to you on the TV." And I said, "Yay! Maybe we'll get a couple more people signing up and showing up for this particular meeting." So Katie, have you been able to dive any deeper into that fatality that happened a couple of weeks ago in Burlington? Do we know what happened there?
In Burlington or in Underhill?
I thought that it was in Burlington, but it might have been under. Was the gentleman from the painting company who fell off the ladder?
Yeah, and
Underhill.
Underhill. Yeah. Yep.
What an unfortunate moment.
I know. You know, somebody that I know actually knows that guy too. It's really unfortunate. Ladder safety.
Hi, Kate. Good to see you. We're going to be, like I just said, we're going to wait 3 or 4 minutes to. We have about 35 people registered, so I want to give people the opportunity before I dive into my very short presentation. The idea here is not that I talk for 45 minutes, you all listen to me drone on, which I would love because I love the sound of my own voice. But my plan is to give a quick presentation on what we at the VBRA have been putting together. And then I have a quick poll that I've put together, a 10-question poll, just a Zoom poll. So we'll be able to have some idea of where you all fall on those questions, and then the idea is that we have a discussion, and listen to what you all have to say. So hopefully that will work. The Let me see. Go. That's working. I'm recording this just so everybody knows. You probably heard that when you came in. If you don't want your name or your visage recorded, you can, put a pseudonym in. And the idea here is not to record who's here and who isn't here. No one's taking names, but I am recording it. So I guess the computer's taking names, but not for any nefarious use. Hey, Andrew. How's the thumb? Andrew and I both have a mangled digit. Hello, Nick. Welcome. Gonna wait 3 more minutes and then we'll dive in. I want to thank you all for in advance for coming. Hey, Patty. Let's see. I should be able to count this up right away, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. That would be 20 if the screen is full. Okay. I should know this. I've been on Zoom calls all year. So if you haven't seen already, in the chat, selfless promotion, my friend Jim Bradley and I, we have a building science podcast we do called House Calls Vermont. It's an extension of a radio show that we have during the fall and winter on WDEV out of Waterbury. And specifically, we're focusing on talking to consumers about building science. It stems out of our time doing energy audits and explaining building science concepts to our clients during audits. So we tried to make sure that people, just regular off the street people, have an opportunity to start understanding concepts like first condensing layer and vapor drive and air tightness and why that matters, and how a house can be too tight if you don't have balanced ventilation, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Um, so that there's a link in there. I put it in there actually for Guy because I interviewed Guy Payne the other day from Sion about the development of a high performance building program, which is for builders that Guy and Peter Yost developed over the past 2 years. So if you're interested, please feel free to go and check it out. We have a bunch of episodes dealing with various building science topics. We also talk to builders, renovators, architects who call in, etc. One more minute, and then we'll get started, and we will just as people come in. I don't have a waiting room, right? Okay, good. Oh my gosh, I just realized I can just look down at the number of participants. I don't have to count tiles. You fool! Okay, let me get rid of that. Let me put this there. Okay, well, I see 4:35. I want to get started. Thank you all for coming this afternoon. The plan is to have a short meeting. I'd like to keep this whole thing to an hour max, maybe an hour and a half, depending on where the discussion goes. I'm going to give a real quick presentation on what it is that that the VBRA is seeing as a need, and what has been happening in the state in the past, and what this initiative is hoping to accomplish. I'm going to put all these conditional words in there because who knows how it will go, but my plan is to have a working apprenticeship program through the VBRA up and running trial-wise by the beginning of the school year, and hopefully full-pledged after some trial work with a couple of small attempts or trial runs to get it up and running full-blown by early 2022. Okay, let me just dive into my presentation. That would be share my screen, and I'll share that one, and I will do this. So there we go. Uh-oh, I don't know. I hate it when it does that. I'm not sure what you guys seeing the main screen, or are you seeing my notes?
We're seeing, I think we're seeing what you want us to see.
Oh, good. So the idea here is that we are where are the entry level workers? The VBR is looking to put a program together to develop a sustainable pool of entry level workers for Vermont's construction industry, the builders, and the associated trades. We all know, the people in this room, anybody we talk to in the industry, there's just a historic chronic lack of available entry-level workers in Vermont for the construction trades and other trades. We're going to be focusing on construction trades and associated trades here. In 1986, the state passed the Vocational Tech Education Act. It might have been a federal act that the state then incorporated. This was the impetus for creating the tech centers in the state. After 10 years, the tech centers were set up, and we had initial attempts to recruit high school students, and it works, but the numbers are low. In 2011, the state passed or upgraded the goals for the Comprehensive Energy Plan to say that by 2030 we need 120,000 homes weatherized in order to meet our climate goals. And here we are in 2020 and 2021, COVID. A critical shortage of available entry-level workers. The housing prices are making it real hard for entry-level people to get housing, and the current programs are providing a worker pool, but it's just not enough. We have output from our existing tech centers. There are 17 tech centers throughout the state. They produce on average about 70 entry-level construction level workers for the state each year. About half of those students are actually in the program and interested in learning and becoming a builder. A lot of the students are there to get out of math class. I've talked to a number of the people who run the class. They're like, yeah, this person is here. They're not really engaged, not really learning. They're really here to just get out of regular school. But I don't think this is the tech center's fault. We don't have a good plan for getting the information about tech centers to students. We also have this weird thing where the tech students, when a student moves from the school to the tech center, the money for their education, for that part of the education, moves over to the tech center, so the schools lose money, so they don't have an incentive to push people towards the tech centers. I don't know if that's something we can approach or look at, but that is certainly one of the things we're looking at. There just is not a comprehensive program in Vermont. And the VBRA is looking to develop a sustainable program. It's got three main parts to it. Where do we get potential candidates? What are we training them, and where are those trainings going to happen? And who are these people going to be hired by at the end? Efficiency Vermont, and Steve Spatz will speak to this in a moment, has been given funding by the legislature to develop a plan to expand the number of weatherization technicians in the state, and probably also weatherization companies that are going to deal with market rate weatherization. The below market rate weatherization is already being handled by the weatherization assistance programs, and they're trying to ramp up their workforce as well. Efficient Vermont does a great job, but it's certainly we have different goals. So here's the organogram I put together, the three spheres. Who will we be getting our apprentices from? Who will these people? What and where will these people be trained? And finally, who will hire these people once they're out? Our proposal is to make a comprehensive survey of everything that exists in the state. We've been doing that over the last 3 months since we started this initiative back in May. We are in discussions with a number of different groups: tech centers, Department of Labor, high schools, the National Guard, and other groups. So that's step one. We're creating connections with places to get people from. And we're looking at a number of issues that are relevant to that we think we need to look at. Housing, transportation, and mental. Could people mute? Yeah, that's okay.
Chris, people need to mute.
Yeah, I got it. Thank you. I have the ability to mute. I needed to grab in. Then we have to find out what skills people the work environment is calling for. Do we have people who are okay with hiring people without any skills and doing on-the-job training? There are apprenticeships that the federal government can help with, but those are 2 and 4 year programs. There are also internships, and the fourth is we want to develop process for companies to get and hire apprentices or interns. There are some programs we found out about that can help pay for wages and workers' comp for a limited time for people who are under that program called interns. There's the registered apprenticeship program that I was just talking about. There's also private fund for trainings and other things. We certainly don't have all the answers. We're still only 2.5 months into working on this program. And what we really want, and the reason we're having this meeting today, is we want to hear from you. We want to know what it is you want. We want to know what your businesses are looking for. We want to know if you have a company that would be willing to become a part of the trial part of this. I said we're going to be putting together a program. We're going to be trying it out. We'd like to have 5 to 10 companies that would be willing, hopefully in different parts of the state, that would be willing to take on people who are coming out of the program. We also need input. If you're someone who thinks you have something to offer to the approach that we have, we'd love to hear from you. Our working group, our subcommittee meets bi-weekly, 7:30 in the morning, in order to get the meeting done before the workday begins, although of course some people's workday is already well underway at that point. Let us know what we can do. Please reach out to us, get in touch with us. We want to hear from you. If you have a company, I will do once again a shameless call for joining the VBRA. We're a membership organization right now. We're entirely volunteer run. We've been having a lot of success pushing various important issues on the state level in the legislature, and this is another platform that we're hoping to do good work in and provide benefits not only for individual companies but for the state as a whole, because we need to solve this workforce shortage. The website is www.homebuildersvt.com. Go on there. You don't have to join, of course. No one's being forced to, but if you do, then your membership allows us to have more voice, but also more resources to get our work done. So that is my presentation. I promised it would be short and sweet. I hope that is indeed what it was. So I have Steve Spatz here from Efficiency Vermont. He'd like to address the madding crowd a bit before we open up the floodgates. After Steve talks, I'm going to throw up the poll. If everybody would just take 2 or 3 minutes and fill out the poll, that would be awesome. I'd appreciate it. So I'll pass it over to Steve. Welcome, Steve. Thank you for joining us.
Hey, Chris. Thank you. Appreciate you guys pulling this together. And seeing a lot of people participating too was great. And obviously this has got a lot of people's attention because it's real and it's an issue that spans all of the trades and spans business in general in the state, recruiting and retaining workers. So I think it's great that we have multiple groups and entities working towards outcomes with this. And I've got a 5-year-old that's going to try to get my attention here. So hopefully not. Just 1 second, please.
Dun, 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 dun. I used to have a 5-year-old. Now one of them's 19 and one of them's 17. So not quite.
Yeah, it's a shame that's a shame that they don't get enough attention. They're really neglected on that front. So I'll go lock myself outside. So let's start that over. Chris mentioned Efficiency Vermont's piece in this. So we have a couple things going on. Senator Bray had a weatherization bill that was presented to the legislature during this past session, looking at boosting the output of the weatherization programs in the state over the next decade, and in looking at ways of funding this. A piece of that carried forward out of his proposed legislation was a stakeholder engagement group to develop a comprehensive plan for a curriculum and a delivery mechanism and some level of certification out of that stakeholder group, with a report to be delivered to that legislative committee by October 1st. So that is something that Efficiency Vermont was tasked with. It was to convene this group and then pull together the content of that report and a level of guideline around how to approach this. Obviously, there's more than one group in the state working on this. The Climate Council also has a workforce development subgroup. Chris's work here and the work of VBRA is effectively and comprehensively addressing it here as well. So the voices to this, I think, knowing that we have multiple things going with different groups, I think what's important out of all of this is that we have unified themes that are being delivered to policymakers and to the State House about what the real levers are on these matters and where we need to be putting focus and attention. There is a funding piece out of this that Chris mentioned. There was $2 million that was allocated out of Governor Scott's budget that was targeted towards weatherization. That $2 million is allocated to go towards supporting workforce development efforts and efforts such as what VBRA is developing here with Chris, Sion, Vermont Adult Learning, other entities in the state that are either in the process of developing or have curriculum in place to support developing workers and a curriculum path. So that is money that will not be available to Efficiency Vermont until the beginning of 2022. And that money is going to be going towards supporting pilot efforts amongst groups. So it will involve a lot like a type of an RFP process to support different measures and different efforts towards this. There is a carve out in that towards another group in the state outside of Efficiency Vermont. So we're still working through what the full amount will be specific to Efficiency Vermont available to support these sorts of pilot efforts. That's kind of the basis of what I can report about Efficiency Vermont's work at the moment on this. And we do have a survey that was developed out of the initial stakeholder group meetings 2 weeks ago. I'll include that link into the chat here and encourage anyone who is, has an interest or an opinion on where we stand with workforce development in the state to take some time, if you can, to complete that survey. The results of that survey are going to help inform the direction of the other subgroups that are going to meet the rest of this summer working on the report for Senator Bray's committee, and will also all be included in that report by October 1st. So that's what I can report, and I appreciate everyone's interest and efforts here. And I think a unified voice on this is really going to be what's needed to move the needle. So
Great.
appreciate you taking
thank
the
you,
time.
Steve. Thank you very much. I'm now just going to activate the poll. It's a 10-question poll. Feel free to take or not take it. And I'll just wait to see where we're at. I'll give it like 3 or 4 minutes. It shouldn't take very long. And that'll give us just a bit of information about what you all are thinking about with regards to this particular poll. Robert, I'm okay. How are you? Hi, Robert. I lost you there. Can I call you back at like 6?
Yes. Are we gonna still do the interview tonight?
Well, we actually did it this afternoon. It was this afternoon.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's okay. No, it's okay. No, we're fine. It went really well. But we can chat later. I want to hear how things are going though. Let's hook up.
Okay.
Okay. Thanks.
All
Bye.
Do we get a star if we finish first?
How do you know you finished first, Dennis? Come on, that's.
I think it was a tie.
Yes, you get a prize. You get to buy, as a member, a Vermont Home Builders and Remodelers Association hat, which is
Whoa, now that's a deal.
quite fetching. I can tell you. We do have a new logo. I don't know if you guys knew the old logo. This is a really nice logo, I think. Okay, I'm going to give it another minute, and then we'll gladly take the results that we've been able to gather. Awesome. Huh, great. Fascinating. I've been watching the original Star Trek with my son, and I just keep on hearing in my head Spock saying fascinating the whole time, so I've been copying it. Okay, well, if you're, please feel free to finish. I'm gonna leave the poll up running in the background, but I did want to just. So the idea is that we, for the next 35 minutes or so, that we just talk about what our experiences are with getting workforce training, our thoughts on you know. The part that I'm really interested in, although I'd be happy to hear any thoughts about any part of this, is really about that taking someone on after they have that the employer part of it. But I'd be happy to hear about anything. And please, the way I think the best way to work this is raise your hand. And I'll pick you. No, not really your hand, Jim. You got to raise your reaction hand. I'm kidding. Jim Bradley, ladies and gentlemen. Don't hear you, Jim. I can't hear you. Can't hear you, Jim. If there's anyone else who wants to talk while Jim is figuring out why we can't hear him.
Hear me now?
I can hear you now. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so testing 1, 2, 3. Fascinating, Spock. But with that, the thing that we've all come up against, and we've been in this long enough to realize, is there's so many different facets and dynamics involved, and there's not a one-step solution that'll solve this problem with workforce development. In our industry, I think the biggest thing for us right now is not just what's going on in the rest of the country with the shortage of employees in every field. It's more so the branding and the understanding of what we do in our industry. Our industry is developing so quickly with technology, building science, also the methods of construction. Watch a video about how they're printing houses in 3D with either concrete or plastics or whatever. Everything's changing. So the intellectual component of what we're doing in our industry isn't just swinging a hammer anymore. And if you approach just conventional construction with the understanding that, well, I'm going to swing the hammer and I'll do that, it's going to be grunt work, there's going to be plenty of that, but that's not the sole entirety of what our trades need to understand or be guided towards or guided away from because of that. The building science component is huge. The technological side of this is huge. The continuing education side of this is huge. And getting parents and individuals that are transitioning into the workforce for the first time or from one job skill to another, they need to understand that construction as usual doesn't hold water anymore. This industry is changing. The world has different needs for housing. The world has different technologies, and the world has different materials to use. And how that all integrates, I mean, this is a different field. And to be able to communicate that message, I think it's an exciting opportunity. I think that if we can allow that message to resonate with what we're doing, that could be hugely fundamental in garnering more people into the trades. But at the same time, there are so many different programs throughout our small state that are so fragmented, running off in this direction and that direction, spending lots of money where literally the left hand doesn't know what the right hand is doing. I mean, it was only a couple of weeks ago that we spoke to Dwight DeCoster with CVOEO, and we had no understanding that they already had this wonderful technical manual that they updated on a regular basis on weatherization fundamental practices. And yet we're talking on the other side of things on how do we make sure that we're getting those skills implemented and who's going to get a curriculum together and everything else. And yet you've got Guy Payne down south, who he's got a wonderful program with Sion about how to train building science and everything else. And yet people aren't even aware of that. So if we're going to put money in a direction, let's make sure it's a cohesive direction. Let's make sure our efforts are collaborative and that we can actually get something that yields more than just 10 years from now saying, okay, what are we going to do now about workforce development because nothing's worked up until now. I mean, we've got to get this in a better fashion, get out of the gate in the right direction together and collectively. Otherwise, I think we're going to be in the same place later. It's a positive message I'm trying to communicate, but also with warnings that we could be back in the same place again if we don't do this right. That's all I had to say.
I'm sorry, Mr. Bacchus, what's your first name? I want to see RK. Or is it
Richard.
Richard. Okay, Richard, please.
I agree with everything that he just said. But one thing I'd like to point out, I don't typically do new buildings. I take like old farmhouses and remodel them. And I'm working on one now that's over 200 years old. My biggest issue is for 6 months I've been looking for workers, can't find any anywhere. I've talked to the labor board and they've put me in contact with tech schools, and I've had ads on their site and whatnot. And there's just it seems like there's no kids out there that are getting out of tech to fill any positions at all. You know, I'd be more than happy to train an employee, but they got to have some basic skills, obviously, because you know I can't take the time, if you will, to hold their hand. They got to at least be able to know, you know, if I mark out studs and say, you know, we're going to stud this wall up or whatever, that they got to at least know which side of the line to put the stud on, so to speak.
And about crowning and yeah.
Yeah. Look at the crown and the board. You know, is it twisted? Well, how do you straighten it? Do you use it? Is it gone? You know, it's gone to the point where you can't use it. I do basically everything from flooring, framing. I do a lot of tiling. You know, I started my business doing kitchens and bathrooms, and I'm extremely particular. So, you know, if you can't read a laser line, which is pretty easy because it's either vertical or horizontal. But the point I'm trying to make is that the lady I talked to at the labor board was very helpful, but I got absolutely nothing out of it. I just can't find any employees.
And you're in the Mad River Valley?
I am, yeah.
To add to that comment, in our program, we're really looking to get workers other than just the schools and the kids. There's a big group of employees, I guess, that are available coming out of the service, the guards, women, people who are unemployed or underemployed. And that's a big group of people that we want to reach. And we're also thinking of reaching out to the builders in the community. And if you know of someone, a friend of the family, or somebody that you know that even if they're not trained, that may be interested in working in the trades, that we would be able to run them through the OSHA 10 training and get them some basic skills so they know how to read the measuring tape and run the skill saw. And when you tell them to go get the square, they know what it is. Because people that have never worked in the trades, there's no way that they would know these things. So we're looking to expand it beyond some of the existing programs. And I know that Lou has worked with the guards, and there's a lot of other avenues that we're looking towards to get more employees. And by the way, I guess I didn't introduce myself. I'm Dennis Forbes. I'm the president of the VBRA.
And owner of
Custom Homes.
Borbo Custom Homes.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Jeff, I think you had your hand up. Did I have that right?
Yep.
Okay.
So we've been in business 35 years. We're on the Connecticut River Valley, central part of the state, Newbury, Vermont. We've been struggling with an aging workforce. We build high-end residential homes. Most of the time, when times get tough, we're fighting just like everybody else is to stay afloat. We've had 5 employees retire in the last 3 years, and I haven't been able to replace them. We're typically running around 30 employees. Right now, I'm down to 24. And we work very closely with our local trade center here, trying to pull them out of high school. We've been participants in the co-op program for 10 sophomores to seniors for the last 15 years. We work with them closely, trying to develop programs so it's not just a place to get out of math class. There's a lot more to it. But there's really not a curriculum that we've experienced that's been beneficial. I've gone to other parts of the country where there's a curriculum where they come out and they show you that piece of paper. It's very similar to like if you showed a Harvard degree, right? People are like, wow, you went to a really good school. Well, trade schools should be the same way. If you had a trade school, you get a degree, man, you're going to start them at $20 an hour because it actually had a really good curriculum and he's done really well in this, this, and this and succeeded. What we're finding is the guys are coming out are so green. We're willing to train, and I'd almost rather train in-house than have them get bad training, is what I found. But the bigger thing is we can't find employees in the trades that want to. We're just a dying breed. Our average age is 55 years old in this company. You know, we've got 1 or 2 young kids and they'll last a few years. Work ethics have changed. You know, we've tried overpaying to see if that helps to promote them to be, to want to stay involved. When I started, I guess I was the guy that was pushing the broom and I had to work my way up. And that's how most people probably started. Nowadays, we're trying to say, no, we don't want them to be doing the broom pushing. We want to put them with our trim carpenters. We want to put them with our framing so we can keep them interested. And we've gone through this whole approach to sugarcoat it, to make it interesting, to keep them wanting to be here, to get into the trades. And we're finding this across the board in electricians and plumbers and carpenters and building science. Like the first gentleman that spoke, I completely agree with this. We're constantly training in-house. We're looking for, we even start trade programs where we have other people come here and we try to teach them up-to-date things, even if it's new ways of installing a window and new air barriers and tapes. And we're constantly getting the building supply people interested in doing trainings, and we offer our facilities for that. But it's a struggle, and I don't know the answer yet. Besides, we've just recently, I've been meeting every Friday trying to start a woodworking club in the 2 local schools here from 4th to 6th grade to get them interested in the trades, and maybe they could even learn how to use a tape or read a tape or do some of the basics that everyone has to do around their homes. So when they get to the high school, they might decide that's a really good career path and go that way. And it shouldn't be looked at as, if you're not going to go to Harvard, you should go to the trades, or if you're not going to go to college. I don't believe in pushing college for every kid. It's certain kids, and trade schools are just as important, but we just don't have that credibility in the trade schools yet, from what I found.
Now thank you for that. That's very, very helpful. I appreciate your feedback, and also very important that we're getting people not just in the Burlington region. That's very heartening. Would anybody else like to? I know Marianne Sheehan has been posting things about the NCCER instruction. That's a 75-hour course. I believe, Marianne, you're with the Vermont Business Roundtable. if I have it right, if I remember right. Welcome. One of the people that
Thank you.
we've been in discussions with. Would you like to say something?
Yeah. So I've been working with some larger general contractors, what I'd call commercial construction, and also some of the larger HVAC providers in the state who have shared needs for hiring. And pretty much all of them have recognized the NCCER core as a standard that they want to hire for. And so they've done some programs, like hiring programs with students over the last year, where they do like a half-hour visit. Here's the way that you would get started with our company, and here are all the opportunities for growth. You know, it's like there's a career path here. It doesn't just end with craft skill. So, you know, people do want to pursue craft skills also, but you can see that there are alternatives. So that's been really pretty successful. But like we did some research to say, how has the supply been from the tech centers? And only about 25% of the students from the tech centers want to go to work for a general contractor. A lot of them want to go to work for a small home builder. So, you know, I think that there's an opportunity there. I do think that if we had 10 times as many of these students in place, we could hire them all. But I really believe that our lowest hanging fruit is in the adult population. For people who have finished high school and didn't get that training, but are looking for another chance to get involved. So that's why I think the adult tech centers, they're sitting empty at night and they've got all the tools. So that might be a solution.
It certainly is one of the, looking only to high school students is not a successful strategy because it hasn't been a successful strategy. So I thank you for pointing that. I agree completely. Although the presentation whipped by, the list of where we can get available workers is 1/6 high school students from our point of view. We agree we're interested in working fields, we're interested in Vermont Works for Women, we're interested in the resettlement, anywhere we can, the Guard, we're looking at all kinds of different locations, and you're absolutely right. I would love it if there was some kind of way, and we can talk about this offline, but if there's some way that if there were students in the program who were interested in working, not interested in working for a large commercial builder, but a small residential builder, that we could be a resource to point them towards. I'm just throwing that out there. Yeah, Guy Payne.
Actually, Chris, Kate has had her hand up longer than I have. So,
Kate, no, I'm sorry, Kate.
But it's,
you know what it is, Kate?
Buried in the yellow.
Yeah, it's it. I couldn't see it because your background is yellow. I cannot even see that you have your hand raised. Kate,
okay.
Kate Stevenson, please.
Thanks, Guy.
Go right
I appreciate
ahead.
it.
Thank you, Guy, for correcting me.
So I'm Kate Stevenson, Helm Construction Solutions, and I'm here mainly with the hat of a training provider today. But you know, we're kind of in this unique position where we work with about 50 different residential builders around the country. Maybe a dozen of them are in Vermont, and I'm very involved with helping them in the hiring process. So I'm seeing all the challenges, but I just wanted to kind of put a plug in for, as much as I agree with what everyone's been saying about the entry-level positions and the need to look beyond high school graduates, because that's where we've seen the most success, is kind of in career-changing folks. But to also just pay attention to that workforce development is not just about entry level. It's not, we really need to provide that career path. And so the types of, you know, we have focused more in the trainings that we're creating on things like lead carpenter training, project manager training, you know, kind of more on the business side, and leadership development for folks, you know, once you get them in the door. I'd love to be involved in that entry level piece too, but I think whatever programs are created, we just want to, would be, you know, I work a lot in Massachusetts as well, lots of builders down there, you know, they have a workforce training fund. any company can get up to $30,000 a year covered in workforce training. So, that's a whole other step that I don't know if Vermont's ready for, but yeah, just want to make sure we're kind of providing a whole range of opportunities that's beyond just how to read and tape measure.
Yes, absolutely. And I do want to point out, although my slides flew by, upskilling is a very important part of this. A number of you have already mentioned that, and this was spoken a lot about when we were dealing with the weatherization piece, is you need to be able to see advancement in your career, and you need to be able to see that your business or the company you're working for is interested in investing in you. And Kate's absolutely right. I don't want to at all say that we're not interested in lateral movement from other industries into the construction industry and development within the industry and the individual worker. That's very well put. Thank you, Kate, for sharing that. Okay, now, Guy.
Okay. One of the things that I think we need to also realize is that I know we've been talking about the adult ed section, is that you can modify the NCCER program to meet the adult learners because they don't want to spend 75 hours in a training class. They don't have the time. So it is possible to offer a little bit of a pared down NCCER program, still get the knowledge and the performance certifications, as well as we also ensure that there's a test out for those who are currently in the field and would like to test out from the NCCER program. So but one of the critical pieces with all this is that the instructors all have to be certified. And throughout the state, at this point, I only know maybe Vermont Works for Women have certified trainers, possibly, and the instructor up at the correctional facility up in Newport. But everyone else are the Career Center and Tech Center instructors. Whether they're ready to work evenings or a late afternoon is a whole other issue. We're fortunate down in Windham County where our daytime instructor works very closely with us, has done the test out as well as a modified, not a modified, but a pared down training program for the NCCER. So that, and I think many of you probably already know that our builders here are not just satisfied with someone coming out with the NCCER. They want them to actually have completed the basics of high performance building course, which is the intro to building science that we deliver down here. So I mean, in truth, that's an ideal. They may be more pressured to hire. But I know from our folks here, they want those basic carpentry skills. They want the basics of high performance building. And they have a matrix. They have an apprenticeship skill matrix competency that they need to complete. So the crew leaders are monitoring that.
Great.
So
thank you, Guy.
Yeah.
I have 3 people have their hands up. I have Kristen, Andy, and Stephanie, you had your hand up as well. So the way I saw it, and please correct me if I'm wrong, I think Kristen was first. I'm going to go Kristen, Andy, Stephanie in that order, if that's okay. Okay, Kristen, if you would start, thank you, and please just state who you're affiliated with too.
Sure. Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Okay, great. I'm Kristen Weiner, and I am the controller for Adam Hergenrother Companies, and one of the companies is BlackRock Construction. I'm pretty new here. I've only been here about 4 weeks, but I'm in charge of finance and HR for the conglomerate of companies. My background, though, includes I'm an electrical engineer. So I used to be an engineer for power companies, and I also have a lot of experience in operational management, like for physical plant at the University of Vermont, and so and at Walt Disney World. So I have a lot of infrastructure background. I think one of the things that is a hot button item, I think, for our entire country is understanding diversity and difference. And this is a very different generation of people coming into the workforce. And, you know, when I started as an engineer in the 1900s, I like to make that joke, you know, it was very different. It was very much about, especially, you know, a young woman coming into into an engineering world, especially in infrastructure. It was very much you shut up and you fit in and you take whatever they give you, and that's how you succeed. I also developed and taught in just the last 5 years, for 5 years before COVID. I taught the diversity class for engineering students at the University of Vermont. So we talk about ageism, generational differences, and things like that. And I think a lot of our folks in the business world, and it doesn't matter what industry you're in, I think do not recognize that these students need, these young people need different things out of their work environment and out of their work experience. I can't tell you how many times I've had a contractor or an HVAC person even come to my house and complain about their boss and complain about the management of the company. And I see more people leaving jobs because they're so unhappy with the treatment they get by their own management. And so I'm wondering if there is a way that we can look at this challenge. I know we definitely have an issue with volume and number of people and number of students and connecting the education. But I really think there's a huge disconnect about, you know, people say when the students or the young people or new people come in, they don't stay. Well, why are they not staying? And I think a lot of the reasons they're not staying is it can be a very miserable experience. I recently just left a tremendously toxic environment, and we had, you know, unionized construction type workers, and it was miserable. And we had 3 people leave within 6 weeks, you know, and now, especially after COVID, the worker can make a move and can make the choice. It's not the employer anymore. It's been the employer for a long time. Although in the trades, it's been really tough. At UVM, we had a terrible time with HVAC and some different groups. But I really think we almost need to put the spotlight on ourselves as well. It's not just a one-way challenge. I think we really do need to look at us, and that we lead differently as a generation than what maybe a younger generation needs. And, you know, on construction sites, it can be rude, crude, and ugly. We need to change that. We need to not have it where people feel like they've been treated really poorly all day long. We want them to be excited to go to work and excited to do work and motivated to do work for their leader. Unfortunately, like I said, you know, when I was even looking to change jobs, I was told to stay away from a few big contractors that were looking for similar type of people like me because they were such horrible environments. So I think we really need to think about that as well. I just want to make sure that gets remembered as we think about the generation and the people that are coming into the workforce. We need to think about our management and what are we doing and what can we do differently, because what we're doing isn't necessarily working. Thank you.
Great. To that point, and it's a very good point. One of the people who's on our task force, Derek Newman from Rob Shea Carpentry, has also brought up how important it is to not just have your employee be a person that you see on the job site. A lot of the reason people leave is because they have problems at home, they have problems with housing, they have problems with addiction, they have problems with people in their family who have addiction that affect them, and having a broader understanding of what the needs are and how we can possibly help. And you're absolutely right. We could have a bunch of people who sign up to be the bosses, and they may not themselves be the good bosses to send people to. So that's an important thing to keep in mind, and maybe a good training. And Kate put that up in the chat about a training that they put together on diversity as well. The social side of this is becoming much more important than it ever has been before, and the younger generation are not gonna just sit and take it. And you're right. I appreciate that. Okay, Andy, you're up.
Thanks. I'm Andy Leach, one of the owners of Leach Construction of Vermont. We're a small design build company, 7 or 8 people. We do custom houses mostly. I just wanted to highlight something. Jim actually started the conversation, and I think Guy touched on it even further, is from the field, I see 2 things, especially when we're bringing on younger workforce. We have the ones that are either right out of the trades or just getting started in the construction industry, and the biggest motivator for them is to get some sort of proficiency. They want to learn the skills. They want to be hands-on. They really want to be basically in the thick of it. What I also see after that is if they stay in that stage for too long, if they're just framing or they're just doing something and they can't move forward them in their own career. I've had 2 young individuals that have come to me who have worked for big construction companies and a lot of repetitive work, just framing larger stuff, and they wanted to see the other part of it, which is basically increase their skill set personally. And ironically, I sent a couple of them through Guy's high performance building program, one individual and one previous, and those guys are now out on their own. So I see 2 things in the workforce. There's a group that comes out that just wants to be in it, and then there's another that committed more serious group, and again, younger side, but they want to learn. They want as much information, they want as much knowledge as they can get. And if they're not getting it, they're going to go out on their own, or they're just going to keep moving on until they get it. So to Jim's point earlier, there is really 2 focuses here, I think, in terms of the training before they get to the trades. One is just the basic stuff, and the early stuff, we're more than comfortable to try and train somebody on site. They should have some basic proficiency, but we're not expecting much out of a very young and green worker that shows up on the site. We'd like to train them and make sure that they're trained correctly. But the second part of that is, and I think this speaks more to the education part of it, is if there is mechanisms where you recognize that you've got an employee that wants more, whether it's building science or advanced trades or other parts of the building industry, I think having some sort of training or classes or certifications that you can steer them to or put them through, I think that's really critical. And I think that's critical in keeping people long-term when you have that type of individual.
And thank you, Andy. That puts us right back in what Kate was saying about, making sure we're constantly having upskilling available if possible. Do we still have? Oh, Stephanie. Yes, Stephanie, please.
Hi, my name is Stephanie. I'm from Engelberth Construction. I'm new to the construction industry. I'm the HR director. I've been in HR for too many years. But this has really been eye-opening to me because to kind of get a grasp on, I actually didn't understand or realize an aging workforce so heavy in one industry. And I was kind of sitting back, and I'm factual and I'm data driven, and I've been running these reports, and I'm scared almost for the next, in the next 7 to 10 years. What does that look like? And kind of saying, like, what are we going to do? So we've been a lot, about, do you participate in apprentices, and trying to see where some of those struggles are, and kind of like what Kristen was saying is, you don't want to set somebody up for failure though either. And I'm not saying anything negative about anybody that works for us, but it's almost like we need to train ourselves first, like in-house, and kind of prepare our staffers for being like, hey, this is, the route that we're going to take. I just wonder about, people's feedback of, what are other people's experiences, I guess, like with internships or apprenticeships and just making sure, like we want, I think the best way to do for a younger generation is to always show them the path, to have them come in and be like, yeah, you might be doing this on the site right now, like covered in mud, but that doesn't have to be your forever, and I do think that a younger generation does respond well to that. They want to see what's out there. They move fast. The generation is different. They want to see where they're going to end up, even though it's not for a very long time, but they want to see it, so I think that laying out our goals, like for them, just to be, what their path can be is really, important. But I just, you definitely spoke about, bringing people in, but we want to make everybody successful in it.
Those are great points. I think that we're hearing a number of themes come back, and one of them is creating a work environment that someone wants to stay in. And I think that really depends on the person company match, but it also is very much about training our owners to insist upon a work environment that someone like that would feel comfortable in staying in and wants to be a part of, and having that aging, I'll just say it, white male workforce that has not had to have any kind of education in the new norms because they've been able to stay in their bubbles. That may be very important to this effort to make it successful. This is great stuff. Jeff, did you want to chime in about something else again?
Sure. Back to what Kristen was saying, I understand making it a comfortable workforce, and we've strived to do that in the last decade or so. We've increased benefits to accommodate employees to make this a real career in the trades. We pay 100% health care. We've added long-term and short-term disability, great vacations, great pay. We do employee appreciations. Last weekend, we took 21 of us to Fenway Park, all inclusive.
Not Yankee Stadium. That's where you're going wrong.
That's what, Boston, that is. Anyway, we've done everything we can because it's important to me as a business owner to treat our employees like family, because we don't have a high turnaround once they get here. We've had guys that's been with us 35 years all the way down through, and they typically don't leave. The problem we're seeing is getting them here, and a younger generation doesn't really seem, they want more in their paycheck because they have to survive. They got to pay rent. They got to do that. They don't have to pay for health insurance, but they don't need health insurance in their mind. So we've been struggling on what we can offer for pay. So we'll just say a start out greenhorn that doesn't know shit from Shinola, to put it blank, is we're starting him at $15, $16 an hour, but we're paying him after 2 months $750 a month for health care and $12 a pay period for his accident insurance and long-term and short-term disability, and all this adds up to, and we pay the first $1,500 in a deductible for his health insurance with a $2,500 deductible to cover all the little stuff, because he probably is not going to max out his deductible. So there's no out-of-pocket expenses. We're striving to be one of the top 100 places to work in the state of Vermont because we know that's important, like Kristen said, to retain employees. We can't survive as a business if we can't keep our employees. But even offering all that, a company like ourselves on this side of the state, on the Connecticut River Valley, we're struggling getting people to even walk in the door to give us an application. And I don't know how much as a business owner we can keep doing, because we'll price ourselves right out of the market on an hourly wage when we're trying to bid projects. right now, I think everybody in the state could bid whatever they wanted to,
Yeah.
because there's so much work in this last year, or even two. We're booked out 2.5 years. But we've all been on the other side of the coin where we've had to really fight to stay afloat and to pay the mortgage or pay the bills. And that's the issue we're facing, is younger generations and appreciation of benefits and the pay to try to keep them. And we do the continuing education all the time. And I'm not having success at it. You know, that's so, and I'm sure it's like that everywhere or a lot of places, but we've looked into is Puerto Rican is bringing those Americans up here, you know, and those programs, they want the exact same pay as what we're paying here. But on top of that, I've got to supply them with housing. I've got to supply them with vehicles, which then they're getting paid more as Americans, more than the guys that are right here in my hometown. So it's not sustainable.
Yeah.
And the problem is I can't guarantee that they're going to come back every year. We've looked into the workforce, we'll just say from Mexico, the same. And there's a few companies, the subcontractors that I've used that's tried that program to try to just get employees that want to work. And it's not about not treating them fairly. We treat them as fairly as anybody else, because we need them
legally.
But the problem is that you can't get the same guy twice. You're not guaranteed that. So you can invest a lot of training. You don't know until February that you're gonna how many you can get. So if I wanted 6 employees, I'm not guaranteed anybody until February when they tell me how many might be coming. You know, so then when bids are due in November and December, there's hundreds of thousands of dollars in bids you're putting out. You don't know if you can do it unless you know you have a workforce that can sustain that. You know, we're down $2 million in revenue this year alone because we have lost employees due to retirement, and we can't replace them. And it's not just entry level, because the company can only have so many greenhorns on a site. We're all willing to train, but I need experienced carpenters and general carpenters. I hire 5 to 10 right now. And I've been trying that for the last year and a half, 18 months. And we get one and we lose one. We've also reached out across the nation for transplants, you know, people that want to move out of Maryland, Virginia, North Carolina, those places to come to Vermont. And we're running into housing shortages. You can't even find an apartment on our side of the state and much less afford it.
Yeah.
You know, so this is a whole, I don't know how to fix any of it yet, but those are the problems we're experiencing.
Yeah, and I have been in, Kristen, I'll get you in just a second. I have been in discussions with people that I know who are involved in getting money from the state to build workforce housing, and they're building it as quickly as they can. But we just saw the market do something crazy which made housing less affordable, right? We had this COVID bubble, the lumber prices went through the roof. Everybody from Massachusetts and New York City and Connecticut wanted to move up here, and they got tons of money, and we already had a problem with that before this all started, and it just exacerbated. I wish I feel your call there, Jeff, and I certainly hope that whatever it is that we come up with, we can try to look at this. I think what we're realizing is this is a holistic problem. This is not, you know, just getting someone up here to swing a hammer. This is so much more than that, and it may require a lot of out of the box thinking to create. I know people who we could probably find 20, 30 people from Georgia who'd be happy to move up here and work up here, but we can't find a place for them to live. Never mind cultural differences that could be difficult as well. What did you want to add, Kristen?
Oh, I was just agreeing.
Oh,
thumbs up.
Okay. Great.
I think it's a holistic issue, and we have to look at it from all angles, and it's a much bigger challenge than any one of us can tackle. And everybody's trying to tackle it. So just agreeing.
Great. Well, we're at about an hour and 40. We're about an hour and 10. I think unless there's somebody who hasn't felt that they've been heard, what I'd like to do is I'd like to bring this meeting to a close. I have notes. I have a video. I'm going to be taking this video and screenshots of the chat so that we have all those links as well. And we're going to be, like I said, the group that we're working with, we're calling it the Apprenticeship Subcommittee. We're meeting on a bi-weekly basis on in the morning, 7:30. I'll have to check what actual date because I've changed it often because I have had issues. Oh, it's Friday mornings. There you go. Friday mornings. I have it in 2 different places. If you're interested in participating in that, send an email to info@homebuildersvt.com and we'll make sure that you get an invite. Also on the that's Steve posting those surveys again in the chat. I will also on the website on the homebuildersvt.com. There's also a calendar and the subcommittee events are there. You don't need an invitation to come. It'd be nice to know that you're coming if you're going to come so that we can just keep abreast of it. If you are not interested in being an active part of the working group of the subcommittee, but are interested in being a part of the program, we do need builders who are interested in taking people on. Once we find people who are going to be in the program, and I cannot promise that we're going to be able to solve all of these problems that we talked about because it's obviously huge. I wish I could just pull 100,000 units of workforce development housing for people to stay in. That would be nice and that they'd be happy to live in. But I don't have that capacity at this point or the ability. I want to thank you all for taking your time out on a Thursday afternoon and past work hours to meet with us. The video of this meeting I'm going to be compiling and posting on the Home Builders YouTube page, and we'll have a link on the homepage as well, or you can send us an email. I'll get it and I'll make sure you get a copy of that. Okay? Thank you all for participating, and we'll certainly be putting out updates on what we're doing.
Thank you much for all your efforts.
Thank you.
Absolutely. I'm
Thanks, Chris.
very much looking forward to seeing how we
Thanks,
do.
Chris.
You're very welcome. Everybody have a good rest of your day.
Thank you. Bye.
Awesome.